Hello and welcome. This is Get Involved Referee with me, Lindsay Herron and Des Roache, as we look over the big talking points in the refereeing world, especially in the Scottish Premiership over the weekend. And let's talk about time, Des. Minutes added on. What's the script? I mean, some games, it looks as if the games are going to last forever. Other matches, well, not quite so much. It's a disparity that some fans are talking to us about, and they're complaining that, one game is only on, a few minutes added on at the end, and yet another, there are so many added on for various reasons. You can explain to us in great detail why that'll happen.
I actually can't. What generally happened in my bye-long days ago was it'll be a conversation between the referee and the fourth official. It'll be, if it was Steve and I, my interpretation is I think that there's been 3 substitutions, 4 substitutions. Okay, right, 4 substitutions, right, 2 minutes added on. Okay. However, now with the introduction of VAR and then the prolonged delay in the game restarting, they've also got to take that into account. But the thing is, there is no absolute hard and fast rule that this takes X amount of time, this takes X amount of time, and this takes X amount of time. I totally understand that fans are incredibly frustrated with it, because you can go from a game having 3 minutes added time to a game having 10 minutes added time. There is no justification for it. But unfortunately, I'm in the blind like most people. In fact, probably most people said I was in the blind when I was refereeing. But there is no hard and fast rule. It is really just a conversation between the referee, the fourth official. I would like to think that VAR would be involved in it and saying, look, we've taken 2 minutes to come to this decision.
I mean, two glaring examples of course, Tynecastle last midweek. Rangers are winning 1-0 and kind of sort of hanging on, if you like, a little bit against Hearts, and only 3 minutes are added on. Steven Naismith furious with that. No explanation as to why they came to that number. And then the Celtic Kilmarnock match down at Rugby Park. Kilmarnock are furious because 10 minutes ended up being played there in added time when 8 was announced initially. So again, is this something really the authorities need to come out and explain to allow the supporters to know what's going on?
I would like to think so. As I said, there is no hard and fast rule. I would like to think that other than going down the American football route or the basketball route, where somebody's sitting there and they're hitting their stopwatch, I've had the same text, people asking me, maybe do you go down the route of putting a stop clock up? But again, that's changing the whole dynamic of the game. So no, unfortunately, I wish I could give you an answer for it, but I really don't. But I do understand the frustration of why players, managers are saying, well, why are you only getting 3 minutes and then we're getting 8 minutes? A lot of Hearts fans had been in touch with me regarding the Willie column. Willie was apparently gesturing to his watch numerous times during the game, and then you see such a small amount of added time on it at the end. And I can completely understand Steven Naismith's frustration on it. I can also understand Derek McInnes' frustration on it as well. But unfortunately, there's no hard and fast rule, as I said.
I mean, like you say, the ball is in play something like 53 minutes out of the 90 on average on a football match. Do you know what I mean? So, if we were to follow the American football, the NFL example, we would be playing for 4 hours.
Yeah, it would be
3 hours.
You wouldn't get European games on a Tuesday night because the guys would still be playing.
Exactly, but after midnight, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
before you finish the match. But I just feel that supporters are owed some kind of explanation as to why and how they come to the amount of minutes that are added or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are the guys that are paying the money to come in the door. Those are the ones that are keeping the clubs open. What have we said all along about VAR? Let them know what's happening. But the supporters and you and I who are watching on television and reporting on it, we're none the wiser. So yeah, it does feel as if it's a wee bit, not draconian, that's not the right way, but it's hidden. But
it seems inconsistent, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's very inconsistent, but it's always been that way thus. It's always been that way. Would we be paying so much attention to it 3 years ago, pre-VAR? Probably not. But however, it's with us now and it's an absolute relevant question. So how do we come up with the amount of time that's added on? I can't answer that question.
I know you said the referee and the fourth official kind of discuss what they think should be added on, but given that VAR is looking at the game in general and covering the whole match, would it be, within their gift to say, look, we think this should be the amount of time added on?
I think that would be the most sensible decision, because those are the guys there with the technology, and they're the guys who are watching the games that goes ahead. They can stop and start to rewind, to look at the attacking player pathway. They can timestamp it. Personally, I think that would be the most sensible way to do it. But the VAR says in the rear, saying, look, I think it should be a minimum of 4, 5, 6. Yeah, the technology is there, so why not use that? That seems the most reasonable and secure way to do it, because they've also got the time on it.
I wonder if there has to be something introduced to allow that to happen. And we're obviously they're only out to intervene on 4 separate issues on field, but this would be a more technical issue. So yeah, it would be a great idea, wouldn't it?
It certainly would.
There were some big calls, and we can go through the big calls of the weekend if you don't mind. If we start at the Rangers game, there was a penalty, early on in the game. And again, it's the second time, curiously enough, involving Rangers when a shirt pull is the decision made by VAR, initially missed by Kevin Clancy. See,
to be honest, I don't think Kevin missed it. I think if you actually look at the game and look at the action of the way it developed and play developed, nobody was looking for that. Absolutely nobody. Not one Rangers player, not one Dundee player thought they had made an error. However, when you look at a still, it changes it. And I think Tony Docherty comes out with a lot of respect when he said exactly at the same time, Kevin read the play, he read what was going on, but when he seen the same picture that was presented to Kevin, he thought it was a penalty, which we all do. It was a clear shirt pull. However, not every touch, not every bump is a foul. Not every shirt pull is a foul.
Really?
However,
not every shirt pull is a foul?
No.
How can that be? It's either a shirt pull or it's not.
It's a contact game. It's a contact game, and I'm shooting myself in the foot here. I know I'm shooting myself in the foot here. It is a penalty when you see it on a still. However, it's contact. What you expect, and the ball was getting put in. I think the only thing that I was really surprised at was there was so much space that he didn't really need to do it. He didn't need to do it. There was so much space between the defenders and the attackers. However, when you see the shirt pull, it's a penalty.
I know it's kind of sticking in your throat about this decision slightly, in the sense you don't think it possibly is, but by definition, this is VAR getting something right, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it is. As much as I'm not as big as fan, I'll just leave just now. Yeah, but yes, when you see the still, but I don't even think Simmer was looking for it. I think he's thrown his hands up just purely in a jest and a claim, but. No, it wasn't the worst thing that I've seen. I've seen a lot worse being passed on.
Mm-hmm. That was given, obviously, a penalty. It put Rangers 2-1 up in the game, which was important at that time for them, for sure. Difficult for Dundee after that. Then Rangers had a goal disallowed. They were 3-1 up. They had a goal disallowed when the play was brought back for a free kick. Now, I'm not sure how this was given. Maybe you can help let the listeners understand this. So you see Kevin Clancy touching his ear, so listening to somebody. Is it the fourth official? Is it VAR? There was a challenge on Boateng on the sidelines on the side of the pitch rather by Dessers in the build up to the play, and then Todd Cantwell scores. Basically, the referee stops the game or doesn't allow the restart of the game, and then disallows it.
At that moment in time, I was unsure myself what had actually gone on. However, when you look back to it, Kevin's position never changed. The position that he had on the field of play was where the offence had occurred. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure if people hadn't heard or whatever, but I think Kevin obviously at that moment in time had blown the whistle for his judgment to be that there had a foul occurred, because he never followed the ball on. He never followed on when Cantwell proceeded. So I think Kevin was he was adamant that a foul had occurred. How it got to that stage, I'm not sure, but Kevin's body language and his position seemed to say as if it was him that made that call, and he was quite happy to be firm with it.
Oh, it seemed that by the TV pictures that he was getting some instruction, but maybe I've misconstrued that.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't know. I think when you see it, I think he was also saying that he's made that call.
I see.
Yeah, I think that he's made that call.
Okay.
To say his body language, he was very stoic. He was very positional. Like, that's where I am, and that's what I'm given.
Okay.
If he hadn't given it, I would expect him to be following play and what should be going on forward. But no, from his body language, I think he was quite fixed in what he was given.
And the next big call in that game was the Jose Cifuentes red card. He loses possession and kind of lunges in and catches Bakayoko on the ankle. And it looks bad in the slow motion, doesn't it? It looks as if he stamped on him. And Kevin's been asked to look at it again, having initially administered a yellow card. Again,
I go back to stills will paint a horrible picture. I think at the time Kevin was quite adamant that he's okay with it. VAR has asked him to come across the view that he's getting. I don't think for a minute that, well, I hope that Cifuentes didn't mean it, but I think he just went for a genuine challenge, and I was okay with the yellow card for that. However, when you slow it down and you pause it and you stop it and you see where the contact was made, you can understand why it was overturned to be a red card.
So Cifuentes sent off, obviously, for that decision made by Kevin Clancy on the back of the monitor review. So that would be, what, excessive foul and abuse? Sorry, how would you call that? Excessive force?
It would be serious foul play.
Serious foul. So that means he misses the next match. It wouldn't be the next Premiership match. It would be the next match. So he's going to miss the Cup final next weekend.
Yes. If because it's a serious foul play and it's a straight red card, then ordinarily it would be within the competition that you're playing in. But because of the severity of it, yes, then it would carry on to the next competition.
There we go. Just one big call in the Celtic match, apart from the extra minutes we were talking about earlier. And again, it's one of these dubious potential handball situations. Joe Hart's made a good save, I think, from Danny Armstrong. The ball's bounced out. And Duba, I think, comes running in, left foot shot, and it hits Alistair Johnson on his left arm as he's sprawled across the penalty area trying to stop the ball.
Do you know what? I'm actually quite happy that's not been given. In my view on it was Johnson's just fallen across and the ball's hit him. We've said it long and weary. There is a difference between accidental handball and deliberate handball. I think that falls into the category of accidental handball. I'm not the big fan of handball the way it's been given this year.
Yeah.
But I'm okay. I'm okay with that one. I think that was completely accidental. I don't think he was trying to make himself unnaturally bigger. I just think the guy was falling over.
I totally agree with you. I wouldn't like to see a penalty being awarded for that particular scenario, but do we need some clarity again? Does it have to be reviewed this year? And again, do the powers that be need to come out with more, let's say, sacrosanct and distinct decisions about what handball is and what it isn't?
I really don't think they need to come out with anything more other than what Steve and I have said for all along. I mean, we've been doing this podcast for a couple of years now. Is it deliberate? Is it intentional? Is it meant? Yes, that's a penalty kick. Have you got the opportunity to remove yourself? Have you got the opportunity to avoid yourself the ball hitting you? Then it's not a penalty. And I think that's just really what it has to come down to. I think we've taken the handball situation to extremes, but common sense, and unfortunately that doesn't follow all the way. Handball is you've deliberately played the ball with your hand, you've deliberately made an act to stop the ball getting to someone. If the ball hits you, the ball hits you. That's just football.
Absolutely. And just finally, Des, when you're down, you're down. I mean, poor wee David Martindale and his Livingston Lions, bottom of the table. They're just not getting a break at the moment. A couple of big calls went against them at the weekend in the game against Hibs. Did you feel they should have had a penalty in the first half? Curtis Guthrie goes down under a challenge from Joe Newell, but it wasn't even reviewed by VAR.
Yes, I was very surprised because it's in such a promising area. It's going to the penalty area. Personally, I thought it was a penalty kick. I thought that Joe Newell got nothing of the ball, made clear contact with Guthrie. Grant Irvin got on his bike very, very quick and run up the other end of the park. But I wouldn't blame Grant for that, and it's not a blame game. But I would certainly expect VAR to be getting him across to have a second have a second look at it. If it's in the penalty area, it's a contentious decision. And at this moment in time, Livingston are scrapping for any point they can get, any goal they can get. But yeah, for me, it was a penalty kick. And I'm very surprised that VAR never get involved.
And then in the second half, there was a bit of a confusing situation where Mo Sangare burst through. There was a clear handball by Paul Hanlon, which would have been a penalty had VAR been allowed to give the penalty. But it turns out that Sangare was offside in the build-up. So in the first instance, VAR should have just called the passage of play offside without going through that whole palaver.
I think that was a wee bit embarrassing, if I'm being perfectly honest. You shouldn't even get there. I don't know why the assistant referee hasn't put the flag up to indicate an offside.
Yeah.
Because if you indicate the offside, which it clearly was, you don't even get to the second one. So you're chalking off a goal and then you're retracing your steps to then say, oh, actually, it wouldn't have been a goal anyway because he was offside. I think that was particularly poor, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think that was wrong. The offside call should be in the first one, and then you don't even get to the second one. Yeah,
so is that a breakdown in communication, or is that VAR's fault particularly?
I think it's a AR fault first, and then it's a VAR fault second. Look, the boys offside. Just put the flag up. I think it's an AR fault first, and then VR for letting it get to there. But I don't understand why you're working back the way from a goal to then call it off. As you said all the time, why you try to call goals off? Just get the first decision right, and then you don't need to think of the next one.
No, exactly. And just one last thing: Don Robertson is the cup final referee. Rangers Aberdeen in the Viaplay Cup final. I think you and Steve had suggested he was the right man for the job. Yep. Why do you think that is, and how do you think he'll do?
I think it's absolutely the right decision. I think Don's having a very good season. I actually sent him a wee message just before we come in tonight, just say congratulations. He's a great referee. He's been around for a long time. He's earned his stripes. He's done all firm games. He's highly rated within UEFA. He's the right man for the job, and I think he will do. And I hope he does, fingers crossed. I think he'll do a fantastic job, and I wish him and his team all the best.
You've mentioned it before. Sometimes, referees have been involved in a contentious decision. They've got to put it to the back of their minds. A lot of Rangers fans still upset about the goal that was disallowed in the first Rangers Celtic match of the season, where he gave the goal and then he changed his mind on a challenge by Cyril Dessers on Gustav Lagerbielke, and then Kemar Roof scored. Will that play in his mind at all? Will he have any pressure on him in that regard?
Absolutely none. Absolutely none. Don's a very strong individual. He's an experienced referee. The most important decision you make after you make, and that wasn't an error, that was just his decision, which he had the strength of mind and character to overturn. The biggest decision you make is the next decision. That game's months ago. Don will not pay any heed to that at all. So I think it's a great appointment, and I think he'll do, and hope he does, fantastically well.
All will be revealed at Hampden, Des. Thanks for listening to Get Involved Referee. We'll catch you next time.